My name is Ryota Matsura. I'm the North American Director of BSME, and I'll ask our staff, which includes Jonathan, to kind of introduce ourselves briefly. So,
well, I guess I'll start. I'm the other person that works in the North American office here. I'm Jill Fisher, and I work with applicants, answering any questions they have, helping them get prepared to go to Budapest.
So I'm Réka Szász. I'm located in Budapest. I'm the Hungarian director, and I'm responsible for academics. I also teach the practicum course.
Hi, everybody. I'm Orsi Pulai, and I'm the student coordinator for BSME in Budapest. So I am responsible for all sorts of non-academic matters. So I will be the one who try to find accommodation for you if you are coming, and you can turn to me with all sorts of questions that do not really relate to classes.
And it looks like you have a cat. I'm Jonathan.
I'm sorry about this.
No, it's wonderful. Love it. I'm Jonathan. I'm not staff, kind of, because I'm not paid by BSME, but I was there last year on the program over the summer. So I'm here to talk about my experience.
great. Thanks. Well, thanks, everyone. So what we have planned for you today is have a kind of a brief presentation of what BSME is about, and then I'll ask Jonathan to kind of share the student perspective, the BSME experience, and then hopefully we'll have plenty of time for Q&A afterwards. So I'm going to share my screen. I assume you can all see this. Is that okay? All right. So that's the picture of the Parliament building. It's kind of the beautiful scenery and so today's agenda, like I just said, quick overview. I have a brief presentation, and then Jonathan will share the BSME experience from last summer, and then the rest is Q&A. Whoever can answer that will answer that. So BSME stands for Budapest Semesters in Math Education. So it's in Budapest, Hungary, the capital of Hungary. So Hungary, just a quick set of facts, a country in Central Europe, about 10 million people, and for someone like me who lives in Minnesota, it's about the 2/5 the size of Minnesota. Just an amazing place to be in. One of the perks of my job is that I get to visit Budapest on occasion. Wonderful culture, people. Some of those folks are being represented here. Scenery and food. It's where Rubik's Cube was the origin of Rubik's Cube is Hungary, and also for some of the educators, base 10 blocks, I believe, was invented by a Hungarian mathematician. And speaking of mathematicians, they did this study, I think, sometime in the last century, and Hungary kind of blew away the world in terms of most mathematicians per capita. It just seems to produce, maybe Paul Erdős is kind of the most famous one, but there's so many great mathematicians and culture of mathematics that comes out of Hungary. And so that's what we are about. How did this happen? What is the secret to kind of the amazing mathematical culture that exists in Hungary? And that's what our program really came about. And so, I don't think it's necessarily the water there because every time I go there and I drink Hungarian water, it's not like I become a better mathematician, but I think it is the way that they teach mathematics, not just at, college level, but much earlier, starting as young as pre-K. There's a lot of emphasis on problem solving and excitement of figuring things out, discovering things for yourselves. Lots of freedom given to the students to argue, make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and viewing math as a whole discipline, not, the typical kind of geometry, algebra 1, algebra 2, trigonometry, pre-calculus, but just math, and really focusing on connections between different concepts and different areas of mathematics. And in order to have that kind of learning happen, the teacher's role, rather than being kind of the instructor of knowledge, it's more of a motivator and a facilitator. And of course, there's a lot of background work that goes into doing that kind of teaching. But during the class, the teacher's role is more of a facilitator rather than kind of, let me plant the knowledge that's in my brain into yours. And so very different from that kind of teaching. And so at BSME, Budapest Semesters in Math Education, our focus is for our participants to experience and study that kind of way of learning and teaching math. We are a 6-week summer program. Our target audience, of course, are those who are interested in not just mathematics itself, but the learning and teaching of secondary mathematics. And so typically we go from late June to early August, kind of spanning July in between. That's our 6-week. And our website is on the corner of every slide, and our website has the dates for the upcoming summer already. Our approach, we say that we ask our participants to put both the student hat and the teacher's hat. And so we do have our participants kind of learn some new mathematics through this Hungarian pedagogy so they can get a feel for what it's like. They also get to observe Hungarian math lessons being taught it's during the summer, so schools are out, but there are lots of math camps that occur in Budapest. So participants gets to kind of be part of those camps and observe it. And then they also get an opportunity to test out their what they learn, which means designing and teaching their own lessons to Hungarian students in English. So you don't have to be able to speak Hungarian after 6 weeks. We have 3 courses all centered around that Hungarian approach. One is practicum, which Reka teaches, is about the experiencing that approach through observation and teaching. So I think the course title kind of speaks for itself. So we think of that as like the field experience course, where you get to see the Hungarian pedagogy in action and actually get to design and teach your own lesson as well. And then we have 2 courses that are both centered around the Hungarian pedagogy. So one is called gamification and playfulness. How do you bring those aspects, kind of the playful aspects of mathematics, and how do you incorporate that into your teaching? And then our 3rd course is all about guided discovery. And so that's where you experience some of that pedagogy yourself as you learn new mathematics, but also analyze, how do you lead a course like that? What kind of work goes into developing that guided discovery approach to learning and teaching mathematics? So those are our 3 courses that we have during the summer. Our instructors, I think, are just absolutely wonderful. They kind of grew up in this system of learning mathematics, and now they teach secondary students using that kind of pedagogy. So they've walked the walk, and they're very experienced at working with U.S. students and abroad. And these are wonderful teachers who, again, grew up in this system of learning mathematics, and they're happy to share that with our participants. And Reka's one of them, of course. Budapest, and I'm sure Jonathan will have a bunch of things to say. It's just a wonderful city, lots of beautiful scenery, culture, nature, lots of hiking you can do, wonderful food, architecture. I can go on, but I'm sure Jonathan will too. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. It's a great place to spend your summer for 6 weeks. And, we recognize that an abroad experience is not just about the academics, right? It's the whole experience of being in a unfamiliar place, and kind of growing as a person because of that. So we're very aware that, you're not there to do studying, 24 hours a day. And so we do want to make sure that our participants have plenty of opportunities to explore Budapest, as well as neighboring countries as well. I think some of the travel restrictions have been, it's much milder than it was a few years ago. And Budapest is very centrally located in Europe. I think it's surrounded by 6 or 7 countries, I believe, and many of those are easily accessible by a short plane ride. And so that's something that they can do as well. We have a very diverse group of participants, different backgrounds. Many of them are undergraduate students who are pursuing their math teaching license at their home institutions. We also have students who are kind of math majors and have plans to maybe go through a master's program afterwards to pursue licensure. We also have in-service teachers, and what's new this summer is we also have graduate credits we can give to those in-service teachers. And so I'll say a bit about that in a moment. And we have students, whether they're undergrads or postgrads, who are just kind of curious about learning and teaching of math as at the academic level. And so we have people interested in teaching and learning in general, and they come to us. And then oftentimes they say, this teaching thing is pretty cool. Maybe I'll look into it a little bit more. So we have different flavors of experiences all coming together at BSME. And this is a picture of a cohort from a few years ago. Like I said, credits. So we do have course credits that are transferable to most US colleges and universities. And we have kind of 2 different levels. So if you're an undergrad student, then you get undergrad credits through St. Olaf College, which I'm sitting in St. Olaf right now. I'm a faculty member at St. Olaf. And then postgraduates, so meaning if you have your bachelor's degree by the time you start BSME, so you could be, say, a current senior who are going to graduate this spring, come to BSME after that, you'll be treated as a postgrad. Of course, in-service teachers are already postgrads. Those folks will earn graduate credits through Texas State University. That's our new graduate partner. And the details about the graduate credits are on our website. I can certainly answer questions about that during our Q&A session as well, but more details are on the website in terms of how many credits are involved and that kind of stuff. And so you will get credits through BSME. There's our website, in particular, the link to the application form. It's free to apply. Our deadline, you still have about 5-6 weeks, April 1, and they're accepted on a rolling basis. So we've already accepted a bunch of people. And so, apply early is what we would encourage if you are interested in participating this summer. And there's our contact information, our website. And that's, I will leave it at that for our presentation. And so we'll do Q&A in a moment, but I think at this point I can give the floor to Jonathan. And if you could share your BSME experience, that would be great.
Yeah, I didn't really prepare anything, so I'll just be speaking off the cuff here. I mean, I had a great time, is I guess the first thing to say. I really enjoyed everyone, all of the people in the program, the teachers, and instructors, and the my peers, the classmates I was there with. Let's see. The classes were great. I really enjoyed the gamification class. That was a lot of fun, and learned some very interesting things about how to make teaching and learning more engaging, and like reward students for learning and get them interested in learning. Sometimes the students might not be completely interested in the material, to be quite honest. And so gamification was a great class to learn some motivational tools to help get kids interested in the process of learning, where they might not be motivated otherwise. We also took a class in geometry that I found pretty fascinating. I think the thing that I really liked from that was that, well, for one thing, I'm not, I don't think I'm very good at geometry. So, and I haven't taken a lot of classes in the past in that kind of thing. So it was really good to get that kind of knowledge there from that class. It didn't emphasize like computation as much. It emphasized more geometric thinking and using properties of shapes, parallel lines, angles, etc., to reach whatever proof or conclusion we were trying to find.
If I could chime in for a moment. We did some restructuring of the courses for the upcoming summer.
Okay.
Geometry will still definitely be an integral part of what the participants will go through in the summer. You just didn't see the name of the geometry course on the slide, but that got lumped into the guided discovery course. So
Okay,
for
cool.
those audience members who are wondering, what about geometry? It'll still be there.
Okay. The coolest thing that I saw in that class was, and I think you'll see this in other classes, is the concept of like spiral learning, or that things build off of each other successively. So in that class, we started with some smaller maybe problems in geometry, and it was like, okay, this is kind of an interesting problem by itself, but I don't really see what the use of this is. And then we built up a little bit more, looked at a different problem, a couple other problems, and then towards the end of the course, then we did this one problem, and it's like, okay, well, what the teacher asked us, like, what can you conclude from this problem that we just did? And it turned out to be a proof of the Pythagorean theorem, a completely geometric proof of the Pythagorean theorem that ended up being really beautiful and really substantial. And we started building that all the way at the beginning. And I thought that was really cool. So I imagine you'll see something similar in the restructured classes, where the different elements that you learn build off of each other. That was one of the tenets of the Hungarian education style that that stood out to me. Maybe I'll talk about my experiences in Budapest a little bit. Like Ryota said, it's a wonderful city, beautiful. Lots to do there, lots to see. Couple standouts were the Parliament building. That it's an incredible building that you really can't see anywhere else. Let's see, there's also the St. Stephen's Cathedral, or Basilica, actually. I remember the first day that I was there, I went out with some people, and that was one of the first things that we saw there. Yeah, there's lots to do. I'm really interested in classical music. And so one of the things that I did while I was there is I saw a showing of the Budapest Opera. I really enjoyed that. Never been able to do that before. Let's see. I see there's a question. I can't really answer that. But we'll get to that later, I guess. But let's see. Oh, you talked about traveling to other countries. I did take a weekend trip to Vienna that I really enjoyed. It was super easy to get there. Just took a train from one of the train stations in Budapest, and then went all the way to Vienna and stayed there for like a day or two, and then took the train back. It was like 4 hours each way. Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any more questions. I'd be happy to answer things, but I think that's about all the comments that I have.
Oh, can you say a little bit about the math camp?
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, at the end of the program in the last week, we actually left Budapest and went a couple hours into the Hungarian countryside by train, and we attended a math camp on a math summer camp for really students of all ages. There were high schoolers there, and there were then also younger students. The camp was on Lake Balaton. It's a big lake in Hungary. And there we got to teach a lesson to these students. We taught hours about graph theory, and I did it in a group. So in case you're worried about like having to teach all by yourself, which I had never done before, I didn't have to do it by myself. I did it in a small group. There were two other teachers there. We did ours on graph theory and Eulerian circuits, kind of addressing the bridges of Königsberg problem. And then we also got to observe other Hungarian teachers and young mathematicians about our age teach lessons to secondary students. And so that was an enlightening experience, getting to see the Hungarian teaching methods and systems in action. I think actually the most valuable thing that I got from that camp was being able to talk to the other staff members there who are from Hungary and talk to them about math and the differing math education practices in Hungary and in the United States. And then also it was just a summer camp on a lake. So got to go swimming in the lake, play games, beach volleyball, stuff like that. It's a fun time.
Cool. Thanks, Jonathan, for sharing your experiences. And so at this time, if anyone has any questions about any aspect of the program, if you want to say it out loud, or you can even type it in the chat box as well. Either one would be all right. Specific requirements. Good question. Thanks for asking that question. So kind of logistical requirement is that a participant has to have finished the first year of college and also be 18 by the time they start the program. In terms of kind of preparation, they should have taken some college math courses. I think having had experience with some sort of mathematics where I don't want to necessarily say a proofwriting course, but just some sort of explain your thinking sort of experience, I believe would be helpful. Reika, what do you think? Am I?
Sorry, I missed I missed your question.
The kind of the specific academic requirement.
Yeah. So so there's no specific academic requirement. Yeah. No specific academic requirement. We look at participants' transcript, and it happened a few times, only a very few times, that we thought that the participant in question still needs a little bit more math background in order to come to BSME, and then we communicate this to them. But usually, just the basic mathematical background is enough to participate successfully in the courses.
Yeah, I think most important thing is kind of enthusiasm for doing math and teaching math, and I think those can solve a lot of issues. And our participants tend to be, it's a self-selected group, right? Folks who want to do study abroad during the summer and come with strong recommendations. So our participants tend to be very strong candidates overall. But in terms of, specific.
Yes, so.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to say that like what all our participants share usually is an enthusiasm and hardworkingness, and they have they have really varied backgrounds. So also in terms of teaching, it's very varied experience. So we have participants who never taught before, and we have participants who are experienced teachers. And the same stands for mathematics. We have participants who have less math background, and we have participants who have a lot of math background. So it's a very varied group, but they are really lucky that all of our participants share an enthusiasm and also great personalities.
All right. Thanks. There's another question about bordering Ukraine and kind of evacuation plan. So I'll ask Reka and Orshi, maybe you can say about Ukraine, but just in terms of plans, if there's a crisis, yes, I mean, unfortunately, we've had experiences of getting students out in the spring of 2020, right? So we went through this. We used to have a fall and spring semesters. Now we just have the summer program, but our students were there in the spring of 2020, and COVID hit. We got everyone out on time, safely. We were on the phone continuously with Budapest. And so we definitely have, for what it's worth, we've had practice getting students out. And so we're certainly prepared, and I think much more aware of things that are going on. But, Reka or what about the Ukraine?
So we are constantly monitoring the situation in the Ukraine. Fortunately, it hasn't impacted Hungary at all. So we had students in Hungary when the war broke out, and those students, all of them stayed in Hungary and were safe. Although at that time, at the beginning, we were slightly worried about what's coming in the future. But now we see that the war stays in the Ukraine, and so the only restriction, of course, is that students are not allowed to travel into the Ukraine or into Russia. But otherwise, we are totally intact from the war.
Oh, yes, the recording will be posted on our website, so it'll be very easily accessible. And so we'll definitely put it up.
So Riora, if you scroll up a little bit, there was a question about an REU.
Yeah, I already addressed that individually. I think there was a little confusion about BSM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Any other questions? I know wait time is kind of important for teachers, so I don't want to rush to conclusions in case someone's typing. I'll wait another 10 seconds. I always tell my pre-service teachers, don't be uncomfortable. Don't find the silence uncomfortable or something. Anyway, well, I think, all right, well, I guess that's it. Well, thank you all for coming. Again, if you have any further questions, our website, bsmeducation.com, our contact information is on that website as well. So please feel free to reach out at any time. Yeah.
Also,